The Gears series used to be an Xbox exclusive. While I've always wanted an Xbox, it was simply not in the cards since my finances wouldn't allow me to own both it and a PlayStation. So Sony always won here, though I would have loved to have both. A few years ago, Microsoft released the first Gears of War game on PC, and I was able to play its co-op campaign with my wife. It was honestly nothing special, just a run-of-the-mill action game, but it didn't pretend to be anything else either. As time passed, the series became a more complex bundle, with a deeper story and interesting characters. Sadly, most of the games still remain unavailable for people like me. Luckily, Gears 5 can also be played on PC and features yet another co-op campaign. And if you guys know me, then you know that I'm a team player and absolutely love co-op. But what about the Ultrawide, I hear you saying? Gears 5 supports all aspects natively and looks great doing so. Now that that's out of the way, let me first address the elephant in the room, Gears 5's narrative. The issue here is that it seems to be a direct continuation of Gears 4's story. So if you're like me, namely someone who has not played the previous several games, you are going to be scratching your head a little bit at first. Luckily, it seems to mostly focus on events which are happening as you play and will rarely reference older ones. This means that even the most ignorant players who have next to no knowledge about the game's lore, such as myself, will be able to enjoy the story without feeling too confused. And while it does start a bit slowly, once there, things get interesting quickly. As is with most co-op games, this one is best played with other players. It supports up to 3, but the third one gets to control the little robot whose job is to assist the team in both combat and exploration. The problem here is that the robot can't actually use normal weapons, meaning that some people may get bored playing it. It is of course a lot of fun watching it fly around and bring you various items, which it will find all over the ground, including weapons and grenades. One of the things I enjoyed a lot was the fact that as the story progresses, one of the characters will occasionally have hallucinations. The player in control of that character can actually see them, while their teammate will remain oblivious to the fact. At most, it may look like the other character is simply having a headache from time to time. I love it when games implement asymmetric co-op like this, although it is very limited here. Now let's talk about the gameplay. The levels are divided into linear and open sections. Some are basically a tube, while others are large open maps with secrets and side objectives. I enjoyed both, although there is something I have to criticize here. The flow of the game is not designed very well. Very often, you will enter a level and have to walk through it slowly while the characters talk to each other. Usually, you will walk to the end of the section, or in some rare cases, till the end of the actual level, only to then be ambushed and forced to fight all the way back to the start of the level. This design, of course, has some advantages. First, it lets you search for secrets in peace. Then comes the fact that the voice acting is really good, as well as a good way to provide the player with some exposition. My problem with it though is that it quickly becomes way too predictable. They simply overuse it. During the open sections, you get to drive a specially designed vehicle which feels fun. One player sits on something that looks like a turret, while the other one drives. The weird thing is that the turret cannot fire. You have no vehicular combat whatsoever. It's nothing more than a pinging device. You can aim and place markers, however, that's rather pointless when you consider the fact that the minimap and the normal map are simply much better when it comes to placing waypoints for the driver. In addition to that, the vehicle will bug out a lot. In some cases, we had to load an older checkpoint because it got stuck so bad that the game would not allow us to progress without it. A single glance online will tell you that the problem is common and has existed since release. I'm shocked that they never fixed it. It's really annoying to have to replay stuff, especially since the game tends to only save occasionally. You don't get an option of manually saving. What happened to us was that we had finished a side mission and moved on to another objective. One of the times when this bug occurred, we had to load the previous checkpoint and the side mission was completely lost. So we had to redo it, start to finish. Now let's talk about the gunplay. Something that was a constant annoyance was the continuous lack of ammunition. I assume the game wants you to switch weapons all the time, but this is completely contrary to the fact that some of the hidden secrets are actually special custom weapons which have very cool effects. Those guns can only be reloaded by picking up ammo boxes. The issue here is that the game is quite stingy when it comes to those. If you have a normal weapon, you can simply pick up weapons of the same type and replenish ammunition in this way. But if you found one of the special weapons, you will always be super low on ammo. It doesn't help that most enemies are bullet sponges. It's counterproductive to give me cool weapons and then make it so I barely ever have any ammo for them. I would also like to address another gripe of mine. If you look at the upper right corner, you will see a bar moving whenever I reload. Basically, it's a quick time event every time you switch a magazine. If you do it perfectly, you reload really quickly. Should you fail it, you reload very slowly. It's an annoyance which is made far worse by the fact that you have to constantly look to the upper right corner when you reload. They could have put it in the middle of the screen or something. I mean, not exactly in the center, but at the lower middle. In addition to that, the reload QTE is different for each weapon, and since the game forces you to switch weapons often due to the acute lack of ammunition, you can't build any muscle memory, which would allow you to time your presses without actually looking at the bar in the corner of your screen. This issue is obviously made worse when playing in ultrawide, since the corner of your screen is much further, especially if you got a 49-inch monitor like I do. Otherwise, when the weapons actually have ammo and are not overheating, they are a lot of fun to use. Gears 5 was enjoyable in the same way as salami sandwiches. It's not the best thing to eat, nobody's going to be super impressed by it, but when you're hungry, it gets the job done and leaves you satisfied at the end of the meal. It's not an amazing game, but it's good enough. There's also some kind of competitive multiplayer, but I'm absolutely not interested in it, so I can't comment on it. I did not play it. Should you play it though? Well, yes, if you have a friend who is also willing to do so with you. 2 people can definitely have a good time. 3 people will probably have even more fun, depending on how the third person handles being the robot. Well, this is it. You've reached the end of this review. I hope it was informative, and thank you for watching Game Filter. See you on the next one, and until then, this is Nino signing off. Have a great day.